Hi, and welcome to my Mythology Project Final video, uh, or whatever. So, for this video, I'm going to be talking about Thor and his journey to the land of giants. So, in case you didn't know, in Norse mythology, Thor is the son of Odin, the god of thunder, and the protector of mankind. So you're probably thinking, what kind of epic tale are you going to talk about that involves Thor? And the answer is, I'm not. This is a more lighthearted tale that really shows how strong the Norse gods are compared to Greek gods. So this story starts off with Thor, the Alfie, and Loki, which we all know as the trickster god. They set out on a journey to go to Jotunheim, the land of giants. On their way to Jotunheim, they met a giant named Skirmir. Alright, now Skirmir was a pretty big guy. As far as giants go, he was huge. And he offered to go with them to Jotunheim and carry their belongings and all their possessions in his bag. Now, when they started settling in for the night, getting cozy in bed, the giant fell asleep and left his bag on the floor with all their stuff in it. And Thor, he was not having it. He's like, well, I want to get my stuff out of my bag. So he tried and tried to open the bag, but he just couldn't do it. And then he was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to wake up this giant because I can't open the bag and I want to get my stuff out. So he grabs his mighty hammer, Mjolnir, and starts banging the giant's head with his hammer as hard as he could, over and over and over again. And the giant didn't even wake up. He just thought some acorns were hitting his forehead, which I think is really funny. The next morning, Skirmir just got up and left. Thor and his buddies went to a massive fortress called Utgard, which is definitely an interesting name. Inside Utgard, they met the king of giants, Utgard Loki. Like any good host, he gives them 3 challenges, one for each person. These challenges were to prove that they perfected some sort of skill. Loki went first, and right off the bat, he declared himself the world's fastest eater. So the king challenged him by summoning his servant Logi. So for this challenge, they were placed at either end of a long trough stuffed with food, and the challenge was whoever could eat all the food and make it to the end of the trough wins. Now Loki and his fed made it to the end of the trough in blinding time, but when he looked up, he already saw Loki was already done and standing over him, eating one of the bones. And he was like, what? So Loki lost that challenge. Up next was the Alvi, who could outrun anything in the wild, despite him being human. For the first round, the giant easily outran the Alvi. The king summoned an ethereal giant named Hugi and challenged them to both race. Now, the Alvi got really mad and was like, you know what? I want a rematch, let me warm up a little bit. So then they raced again, and the Alvi was taking the lead until eventually the giant spirit thing outran him again. Then the Alvi was getting really upset. He's like, okay, one more time, because he was really mad. So they raced a third time, and the Alvi got smoked. He got absolutely smoked the third time. Like, it wasn't even close. He just easily outran the Alvi. So, end of challenge 2. The king did compliment the Alvi though, and he was like, you're probably the fastest human I think I've ever seen in my entire life. And didn't really mean anything because he still lost the challenge, but it was nice, I guess. And then there was Thor. The king then offered Thor a drinking horn and said, hey, all my guys could drink this in 2 gulps. Bet you can't do that. And Thor said, okay, bet. Watch this. Thor started drinking it, and then he was like, oh wait, this is a light work, right? He took 1 gulp, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5. Before then he put it down and was like, okay, I can't do this. Then he looked in there and the level of the water only slightly went down. And he was like, bruh. The king also wanted to try and test Thor's might, so he gave him one more challenge. And I kid you not, his challenge was to arm wrestle an old lady giant named Ellie. So then he arm wrestled the super old lady and then lost. He got weaker and weaker and weaker over time trying to wrestle her until he lost. With the challenges finished, all 3 guys were kind of upset. They kind of just got destroyed by all the giants. So they were mad, rightfully so. But before the king escorted them out, he was like, hey guys, let me be honest with you for a second. The king revealed the challenges were not as they seemed. Loki lost the eating contest because his opponent, Logi, was fire itself. So it just engulfed all the food in one go. Thialfi couldn't outrun the giant Hugi because Hugi was the literal embodiment of thought, and you think faster than you move. So I guess that's just how it goes. And Thor couldn't beat the old woman Ellie because old age makes you weaker over time, I guess, so he just couldn't beat her. Not only that, but the drinking horn was filled with the ocean. Thor drank maybe about like 1/8 of the horn. Can you imagine Thor drinking 1/8 of the entire ocean? Him drinking that like horn dropped the sea level by such a large amount. It like messed up like fishermen. Also, remember in the beginning of the story where I said that Thor was mad that he couldn't open his bag and then he started banging his hammer on the giant? Well, instead of the giant getting hurt by him swinging his hammer on his head repeatedly, Thor formed mountains that surrounded nearby areas, which is insane. So then the king let them out and then he was like, good job on doing the challenges. You guys are really strong. Therefore, you are banned from my kingdom because I'm scared of you now. And then he closed the doors and that was it. Even though Thor and his friends failed the challenges that were set upon them, they indirectly really showed how strong they were. In trying to do the impossible, they pushed themselves way harder than they ever did before. So, good for them, I guess.